Shedeur Sanders was never supposed to be the story, for the wrong reasons. But with every snap, every scramble behind an offensive line that looks allergic to blocking, his name is becoming shorthand for yet another Cleveland Browns disaster. It's no longer about his potential. It's about survival. What was once billed as a promising new era has devolved into a case study in organizational collapse. From the minute the Browns drafted Sanders, questions swirled, not about his talent, but whether this franchise could actually handle it.
If you're into the real story and all the messy twists they don't show on highlight reels, go ahead and subscribe. And if you're sticking around to see how this Browns QB chaos plays out, you should definitely be subscribed.
And then came Jason Kelce. Calm, measured, unshaken. He didn't deliver a rant. He dropped a red flag with the precision of a veteran who's seen this exact meltdown before. And just like that, the temperature in Cleveland spiked. Kelce's warning wasn't just about Sanders. It was about the Browns' culture, one steeped in dysfunction, bad calls, and a knack for making the wrong move at the worst possible time. He saw the writing on the wall before the ink was even dry on Shedeur's rookie contract. And instead of adjusting, the Browns got defensive. Front office leaks, media spin, finger pointing. Same old Cleveland. The meltdown didn't take long. Shedeur's development stalled almost immediately, smothered by a chaotic locker room, a wildly inconsistent offense, and a leadership structure that appears allergic to stability. Reports of friction between coaching staff and front office hit the wires. On-field frustrations turned into viral sideline moments. And all of it, every unforced error, seemed to echo Kelce's original point louder and louder. This isn't just about football decisions. It's about organizational DNA. The Browns have made chaos their brand. And no matter who's under center, the result is always the same. High hopes, followed by high drama, ending in another facepalm season. Even when they have the talent, the dysfunction swallows it whole. And now Sanders, one of the most hyped quarterback prospects in recent memory, is stuck playing triage in a franchise allergic to stability. He's still showing glimpses, still making magic happen on busted plays. But he's not developing. He's surviving. And in Cleveland, that's become the only skill that matters. The league sees it. The fans see it. Jason Kelce saw it before it even started. And now that his warning has all but played out on live television, the Browns have only themselves to blame. Sanders may have arrived with star power, but in Cleveland, not even that is enough to escape the gravitational pull of chaos. Jason Kelce didn't need to raise his voice. He didn't need to storm onto a podium or drop a dramatic soundbite. He just calmly said what many people were already thinking. The Cleveland Browns are doing it again. Mishandling talent. Ignoring reality, creating chaos. And this time, the name at the center of it all is Shedeur Sanders. What Kelce said wasn't inflammatory, it was prophetic. A warning. A spotlight on a pattern that the Browns have made their entire identity. Dysfunction dressed as ambition. And just like clockwork, Cleveland responded not with reflection, not with humility, but with more dysfunction. PR missteps. Tension behind the scenes. Confused messaging from coaches, fan unrest, media chaos, a full-blown organizational meltdown. This isn't a new storyline. It's just a new season. The Browns' response to Kelce's warning wasn't just defensive, it was revealing. Instead of addressing the substance of his commentary, they acted like he was throwing bombs from the outside. Like he didn't know what he was talking about. But Kelce's played long enough to know how this goes. He's been in stable locker rooms. He's been in winning cultures. And he's seen enough quarterback careers destroyed by bad management to spot the early signs of disaster from a mile away. And now, every sign he pointed to is unfolding in real time. Let's be clear, this isn't about Shedeur Sanders lacking talent. He's shown flashes. His upside is obvious. He's poised, intelligent, and unshaken by the spotlight. But raw talent doesn't mean anything when it's placed in an environment like Cleveland's. An environment where the offensive line can't keep defenders off of him. Where the coaching staff can't commit to a single message. Where the fan base is constantly swinging between blind hope and total despair. Sanders isn't being developed. He's being dragged. dragged into another cycle of Cleveland chaos that devours quarterbacks and leaves nothing behind but what-ifs. And it's not just what's happening on the field. The media spectacle around this situation is growing by the day. Every press conference becomes a new headline. Every vague quote from the coaching staff fuels another round of speculation. Every loss magnifies the pressure. The Browns have become, once again, the league's most dysfunctional open-air drama. And that's the kicker. The NFL loves this. Cleveland's mess has become content. Their dysfunction is marketable. The meltdown is being watched and laughed at by rival teams, debated by media panels, dissected in locker rooms. And at the center of it all is a young quarterback being asked to carry not just a team, but an entire franchise's deeply broken system. This is what Kelce was warning about. This exact spiral. Not just that Shedeur could fail, but that the environment would make failure the default outcome. The Browns have a habit of turning developmental problems into cultural ones. And they're doing it again, right in front of us. When Jason Kelce spoke up, he didn't throw shade. He held up a mirror. And Cleveland hated what they saw. The franchise's long history of self-inflicted damage is well documented. Mismanaging draft picks, cycling through coaching staffs, overhyping quarterbacks, firing scapegoats instead of fixing systems. The moment things go sideways, the internal panic sets in. And when that happens, no amount of talent can save you. Shedeur isn't just fighting defensive linemen. He's fighting against an organization that still doesn't know how to support growth without imploding under the weight of its own expectations. And now the league is watching this all unravel, and Kelce's calm words are starting to look less like commentary and more like prophecy. Because every week it becomes more and more obvious. Cleveland wasn't ready for Shedeur Sanders. Not because they didn't want him, but because they never fixed the foundation before inviting him in. The dysfunction in Cleveland isn't episodic. It's cultural. It's systemic. And the reaction to Kelce's comments only proves that. Instead of using his words as an opportunity to take stock of their situation, they treated it like a PR crisis. That says everything. Let's talk about the fans for a second. Cleveland fans are loyal. No one questions that. But even loyalty has limits. The response from the fan base to this entire situation has been emotional, divided, and loud. Some still believe. Some are exhausted. Some are furious that yet another quarterback is being thrown into the grinder before he's had a real chance to find his footing. And who can blame them? They've seen this movie before. Over and over again. From first-round flops to media darlings that never got the right coaching, Browns fans have been forced to pretend that every year might be different. That this time they've learned. That this quarterback will be the one to turn the tide. And every time, the franchise finds a way to sabotage it. Whether it's mismanagement of the roster, knee-jerk coaching changes, or turning on their own player when the pressure builds, the Browns somehow always return to form. And now, with Shedeur, they're once again expecting a miracle while providing none of the conditions required to make one happen. And meanwhile, other teams in the league are watching all this chaos and thanking the football gods they aren't in the same boat. Because let's be honest, no franchise wants to be that team. The one known for dysfunction. The one that turns a generational talent into another footnote. The one that gets talked about more for headlines than for wins. But right now, that's exactly who the Browns are. Shedeur's performance isn't the problem, it's the scapegoat. He's doing what he can with what he's been given. But it's hard to grow when you're constantly running for your life, both on the field and in the media. It's hard to lead a team when no one behind the scenes can agree on what direction you're supposed to be going. Kelce knew this, and he said it out loud. And now that it's happening, the Browns can't deny it. They can't escape it. They can't spin it. Because this isn't just a bad stretch. It's a franchise unraveling under its own legacy of failure. And unless something changes, and quickly, Shedeur Sanders will become just another name on a long list of players Cleveland failed to protect, failed to develop, and failed to lead. The real tragedy here? It doesn't have to be this way. There is a way out. But it requires ownership. It requires cultural change. It requires the front office and coaching staff to stop managing perception and start managing reality. Right now, Shedeur needs protection, not just from blitzes, but from the weight of a broken system. He needs leadership that can block out the noise, fix the mechanics, and stop chasing PR victories. And he needs an organization that understands growth isn't instant, it's built. But if Cleveland can't provide that, if they're more focused on defending themselves than defending their quarterback, then yes, Kelce's prophecy will play out exactly as expected. And once again, the Browns will be left with nothing but regrets, excuses, and a new set of promises they won't keep. So here we are, midway through a season that already feels like a slow-motion collapse. A generational talent under siege. A franchise too prideful to listen. A league watching amused. And a warning that should have sparked change, now echoing as a reminder that they were told. Let us know what you think. Was Kelce out of line? Or is he the only one saying what needed to be said? Can Shedeur still thrive? Or is this another career being drowned by the Browns' never-ending storm? Drop your thoughts in the comments. Hit that subscribe button for more honest breakdowns, NFL chaos, and deep dives into the league's most baffling disasters. Because with Cleveland, the season might end, but the dysfunction never does. The Cleveland Browns aren't just struggling, they're unraveling. And Jason Kelce didn't light the match. He simply pointed out the fire that was already burning. Let's not twist this. Kelce's warning wasn't a cheap shot. It wasn't gossip. It was the kind of grounded, veteran observation that only someone who understands winning culture could make. A Super Bowl champ. A team leader. A man who's been through the grind. When someone like Jason Kelce looks at your organization and basically says, you're setting this kid up to fail, that should be the moment you stop everything and take a hard look in the mirror. But Cleveland? They did what Cleveland always does. They took offense instead of responsibility. That's the culture. That's the issue. It's always easier for them to shoot the messenger than to confront the message. And now we're watching it unfold. Exactly how Kelce predicted. Every week, the Browns fall deeper into their own chaos. Every press conference is a masterclass in denial. The coaching staff keeps pivoting between confidence and confusion. The locker room energy is tense. The media is circling. The fans are exasperated. And Shedeur Sanders? He's right in the middle of a storm. This was supposed to be a reset for the Browns. A fresh era. A new quarterback with star power and poise. But they didn't just toss Shedeur into the deep end. They tied a cinder block to his ankle and called it development. This kid's out there trying to prove himself under more pressure than any rookie should carry. Not just pressure to perform. Pressure to save a franchise that's made self-sabotage a lifestyle. And while the flashes of brilliance are there, the poise, the arm talent, the leadership, it's all being buried under poor protection, poor play calling, and a front office that still doesn't seem to know how to build around a quarterback instead of just blaming one. That's the trap. That's the cycle Kelce was talking about. Because the Browns don't just fail quarterbacks. They destroy them. Every year it's the same pattern. Draft the savior, unleash the media hype, ignore the infrastructure issues, and then implode when the losses start piling up. By week 6, the coach is on the defensive, the fans are divided, the media is weaponized, and the locker room is fractured. What's worse is that it always feels preventable. Because it is. The dysfunction isn't a mystery. It's not bad luck. It's systemic. It's baked into the DNA of how this team operates. And every time someone tries to call it out, whether it's a former player, a fan, or a respected voice like Jason Kelce, the team acts like it's being attacked. As if recognizing a problem is somehow worse than having one. Let's talk about what Shedeur's actually facing right now. The offensive line is a disaster. The kind of disaster that gets quarterbacks hurt. He's taking hits, dodging pressure, and spending more time running for his life than executing plays. That kind of environment doesn't just stunt growth, it teaches bad habits. It breaks rhythm. It crushes confidence. And while the coaching staff says all the right things publicly, we believe in him. We're building something. Their actions say otherwise. The scheme is all over the place. The protection adjustments are too little, too late. There's no clear development plan, no sense of direction. It's like they drafted Shedeur because of his name and forgot they were supposed to help him build a career. And now, just a few months in, the entire conversation is shifting. Not from how do we support Shedeur to is Shedeur the guy? As if he's the problem. As if a rookie is supposed to single-handedly fix a legacy of dysfunction. This is where Kelce's warning becomes chilling. Because what he said, calmly and plainly, is already happening. The Browns are once again creating a narrative where the player takes the fall for the organization's failure to prepare. They're repeating history while pretending it's something new. The media frenzy only adds to the chaos. Every quote gets dissected. Every offhand comment becomes a headline. Rival fan bases are trolling. National analysts are weighing in. And in the middle of it, Shedeur has to pretend this is normal. That this circus is just part of the job. But it shouldn't be. This isn't what a young quarterback's rookie year is supposed to look like. He should be learning, growing, making mistakes in a system designed to help him improve. Instead, he's getting the full Cleveland experience. Expectations without support, hype without protection, and blame without context. Meanwhile, the front office is more focused on optics than solutions. They're doing damage control instead of culture control, trying to manage the headlines while the locker room vibe deteriorates and the on-field product gets worse. And this is where the Browns always lose the plot. Because you can't PR spin your way out of a culture problem. You can't throw around buzzwords like resilience and trust the process when the process is clearly broken. You can't ask your quarterback to be the face of the franchise and then give him nothing to stand on. And the league? The league sees it. Other teams see it. Other players see it. And they're not just watching, they're learning. Watching how Cleveland handles this tells you everything about why they've struggled for decades. Watching how they respond to honest criticism tells you why nothing ever changes. Because the truth is simple. No one fears Cleveland. They expect Cleveland to blow it. They expect the talent to get wasted. They expect the locker room to fracture. They expect the coaches to make panic decisions. It's not just a pattern, it's a reputation. And Jason Kelce, without rage, without bias, called that out. He didn't need to shout because the evidence speaks for itself. The Browns don't know how to build around their talent. They only know how to sell it, market it, hope that sheer willpower makes up for the glaring holes in the foundation. And now Shedeur Sanders is the one paying the price. It's not too late technically. There is still time to fix this. But that would require something Cleveland rarely shows: humility. They would have to admit the system isn't working. They would have to acknowledge that Kelce was right. They would have to actually change, not just the playbook, but the entire mentality. They'd have to protect Shedeur with more than just words. They'd need to invest in the line, commit to a scheme, let go of the ego, and embrace the rebuild in a way that supports him, not just sells him. But history says they won't. And if they don't, we already know what's next. The story writes itself. More losses, more finger-pointing. A quarterback who begins to second-guess himself. A fan base that splits in half. A coach on the hot seat. A franchise that starts floating trade rumors just to test the waters. Another opportunity squandered. Another rebuild before the last one even had a chance. And another voice, another Jason Kelce, watching from afar, shaking their head, knowing this could have all been avoided. So here's the real question. How many times does this need to happen before Cleveland learns? How many wasted careers? How many locker room implosions? How many false starts? How many players do they plan to chew up before they realize it's them? Because Shedeur Sanders doesn't need to be the next name on that list. But without change, he will be. Shedeur Sanders walked into the NFL with all the tools. Confidence, pedigree, raw talent, and the kind of calm under pressure that you can't teach. But now, just a few games into his pro career, he's not being evaluated. He's being survived. Every play is a test. Every mistake is magnified. Every quote is twisted. And the franchise that should be nurturing him? It's too busy unraveling to notice. Cleveland doesn't develop quarterbacks. They consume them. And Shedeur, through no fault of his own, is being fed into the same machinery that's failed so many before him. The offensive line is a liability. The coaching staff is indecisive. The playbook feels like it was written in panic. And instead of owning the dysfunction, the organization is letting the rookie carry it. That's the problem Kelce was pointing to. He wasn't just talking about schemes and stats. He was calling out the culture. The kind of environment that expects the quarterback to be perfect because the franchise refuses to be accountable. The kind of place where talent gets buried beneath bad decisions and worse leadership. And now that warning? It's playing out like a slow-motion car crash. The Browns are not only repeating their past, they're doubling down on it. They're treating criticism as betrayal. They're deflecting questions with empty phrases. And the people in power? They're more focused on controlling perception than confronting problems. Meanwhile, Shedeur is standing in the eye of a storm he didn't create. He's doing everything right, staying composed, taking responsibility, showing flashes of brilliance. But the reality is brutal. He was never set up to succeed here. Not with this system. Not with this protection. Not with this culture. And the longer it goes on, the more the league watches with that familiar headshake. Not because they don't believe in Shedeur, but because they don't believe in Cleveland. And why should they? This is the same team that's turned talent into tragedy more times than we can count. The same front office that keeps making the same mistakes and calling it progress. The same playbook of hype, denial, collapse, repeat. Kelce didn't jinx the Browns. He just said out loud what everyone already knew. Unless something changes, and fast, this team is going to ruin another quarterback before he even has a chance to become who he could be. So tell us, can Cleveland break the cycle? Or are we watching another future fizzle out in real time? Drop your take in the comments. Subscribe if you're here for the chaos, the honesty, and the breakdowns the league doesn't want to talk about. Because when teams fall apart, we're not just watching, we're calling it out. Play by play, mistake by mistake. Browns fans, we hope you're listening. Because Kelce definitely was.